Louis Gossett Jr.'s alien character, Jerry, is pregnant and has an alien baby. And then Louis Gossett Jr.'s character dies. And now the film is Dennis Quaid and a little alien boy.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's episode 2.
Which isn't necessarily good or better than when Louis Gossett Jr. is there, but I give it credit for just being bizarre. Like, for about 5 minutes, it's Dennis Quaid in this weird puppet that he's pretending is an alien baby. And it's so bizarre that I couldn't take my eyes off of it.
Young Junk!
Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission. 2 men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, aka the Bat Triple. And as always, I am joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
It is April 1st, but we're no fool. We are sitting in the world of Octavia April.
Yes, sir.
Our annual celebration of Black sci-fi and Afrofuturism, named for the first lady of science fiction,
The Grand Dame.
Octavia Butler.
Yes, sir.
And tonight we are kicking it off in 2025 with Vincent's selection. He finally did it, missionaries. He dipped deep into that cavernous well of a short list of his and pulled out Enemy Mine.
Yes, sir.
From 1985, starring Oscar award-winning actor Louis Gossett Jr. and Dennis Quaid in a piece of sci-fi that we will be reviewing for all of you out there watching us as we stream live from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. We are streaming to Instagram, we are streaming to Facebook, and we are streaming, of course, to YouTube, where each and every one of you are out there in the chat. Hello, missionaries.
Good evening, one and all.
Vincent, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. This is my favorite month on the mission.
I did not know that.
Of course you did. You know I love, I love Science Fiction Month.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. I'm doing well. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I actually, you know what I had earlier today?
A waffle?
I did not have a waffle. I've not had a waffle for quite some time, actually.
A backache?
A pancake?
A backache.
I have not had a backache
A backache?
for quite some time either, thankfully.
A V8?
No, I don't like V8s.
All right, I'm going to stop guessing.
I wish you would.
Okay. What did you have earlier?
I had a butterscotch crimpet.
A butterscotch crimpet.
Tasty cake butterscotch crimpet.
Yeah. That's real Philly.
It was.
How'd that go for you?
It did well because I had it with a cup of tea.
Okay. All right.
I'm a teetotaler.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's not alcohol, so yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Were you about to come at me for being a teetotaler?
No, a teetotaler is someone who doesn't drink.
I don't drink.
I know, but that has nothing to do with tea.
Oh, doesn't?
I don't think so.
It meant that beside.
I thought it just meant you didn't drink.
I thought it, yes, because
you're drinking tea?
You're drinking tea.
Is it? I never made that connection. You learn something new every day.
It says it's in the name, teetotaler.
Yeah, but I thought it was TEE, totaler.
Well, what would that have to do with drinking?
That's just what they call. Okay. It's a shame we don't have access to some type of device or service that you could look up. Right. A teetotaler is a person who never drinks alcohol. All right.
First of all, how's it spelled?
TEETO.
Oh, is it spelled TEE?
Yes.
I always thought it was TEA.
No, it's TEETOTALER.
Right, that's teetotaler.
It is teetotaler and is the practice of voluntarily abstaining from the consumption of alcohol. Let's see, the etymology is the word is first recorded in 1832 in the context of abstinence. Emphasize T is presumably a reduplication of the first letter of totaler, so it's like capital T totaler. Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with tea.
So it has absolutely nothing to do
with tea.
With the drink.
There's no connection.
The drinking of tea.
There's no connection to tea.
Oh, well, then I stand corrected.
Right. But you should have went with it and said that you were being playful, like you were engaging in playfulness of the language.
I could have, but that would have been a lie.
Well, a lie sometimes is just when you haven't quite gotten to the truth of it.
How does that work with your students?
I'm just saying. Look, by the time I was finished, I'd have brought in Old Dirty Bastard, Sonia Sanchez, and road songs. But the crimpet was good?
It was. It was. I enjoyed the crimpet.
So in a way, you didn't have tea and crumpets, you had tea and crimpets.
I had tea and crimpets.
See, you could have gone that way. See, now that's more playfulness with the language.
I could have.
You should have said,
but again, that would have been a lie.
That would have been a lie. I didn't have tea and crumpets, I had tea and crimpets.
I had tea
and then I said, oh, how clever.
Moving on.
Okay.
I see in the chat, Aaron Fry, how are you doing? Aaron Fry is asking whether and I like it.
Okay.
I like it. I like it as well as I did the Netflix version of the show? No.
The reviews have been lukewarm.
Right. But it's solid. The acting is great. I mean you can't knock, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio. But it's not pulling me in. I think I'm more watching it. I'm more watching it because I'm going to be guesting on Cult Pop podcast tomorrow night. So I'm catching up on a lot of my geek ephemera stuff.
Sure.
So I can be in the know and
absolutely be one of the cool kids.
I want to be one of the cool kids on at the panel.
Yeah.
So I haven't. So I am caught up on that. But what I did catch up on, per your request.
Oh yeah.
I have watched the entire third season of Severance.
Second season.
Oh, the second season.
Only second season.
Jesus. The second season of Severance.
Oh, yeah.
I watched it all the way through the season finale.
How you like that?
It's a very interesting show. Very interesting show. It went for it in the last episode.
Look.
It all of a sudden it's like, all of a sudden we're in a Jordan Peele movie. Okay.
Severance is not here to play with you people.
No. It's interesting, but I know this is a show that you and Dylan have been loving because Missionaries. You don't know the first half an hour before the cameras come on. It's just me sitting here listening to these two bop about Severance.
It's so smart. I think it's so smart. I think it is such a great examination of how corporate interests use technology as a weapon, and use it as a way to make people work. And I love an exploration of technology where if that technology existed, this is how it would be used.
It's probably exactly how it would be used.
And, for our purposes here on the Micheaux Mission, and certainly during Octavia April, they're they very tantalizingly deal with issues of race, and that fascinates me to a great deal. Yeah. There's a manager named Mr. Milchek, who is one of two main Black characters. And the way they kind of address the microaggressions that he faces and just sort of navigating this corporate space as a Black man and what you have to do is amazing. And I'm just really, really trusting that Ben Stiller and company are being very intentional in how race is being addressed. So, and then it's just a beautiful show.
The money is on the screen.
It's so gorgeous. the acting is great. The story is fascinating. It really is like a Black Mirror episode that they've just turned into a show.
Constructed.
Yeah, which is the greatest compliment I could give it.
Yeah.
So yeah, big fan.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I do enjoy it. And hey, it'll probably be another 3 years before the next season. So
actually, according to the creators, they're filming right now. Like they're saying that they're not trying to be on that every 5-year deal.
Well, true. And to be fair, the pandemic did mess them up.
And there's a part of me that thinks that they've already filmed the 3rd season.
No.
Like it took so long to film the 2nd season, and kind of reading in between the lines with some of the interviews with the cast and Ben Stiller and is that Dan Harmon? Not Dan Harmon.
Not Dan Harmon.
I get the sense they have stuff in the pocket.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so
some stuff, most certainly.
Right. So yeah, between that and that coming back sooner than later, and we talked a little bit about Paradise, which is not as good as Severance, but Sterling K. Brown is putting on a clinic.
You and Paradise.
And they're filming that right now. I'm eating pretty good, and it helps to soften the blow. Did you see the announcement about Beyond the Spider-Verse?
I saw that it's going to be coming out 2027.
Yeah, 2027. Camille texted me at 11:30, scared the shit out of me because your daughter's texting you at 11:30.
11:30 at night.
11:30 at night. Because, I guess they announced it. And, Right. And Camille saw it and texted me and said, well, I guess it'll be a college graduation present.
How about that?
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. I didn't see. I saw the headline.
Yeah.
I didn't read the story. Have they said why it's taking so long?
No, they didn't. But I think there were issues with the script, and I think they're taking their time.
I mean, I guess they definitely want to get it right. But
right.
Jesus, man.
And then not for nothing, Shamik Moore need to get him. Hopefully, he's taking this time to get himself together. He was texting and posting all crazy.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was.
Ooh.
Like I'm not real gossipy like that, but I was keeping an eye on that because I ain't want him to mess up.
Ooh.
Miles Morales.
Ooh.
Yeah, so he's been quiet. So hopefully everything he's righted the ship
okay.
But yeah.
All right. Well, okay. Well, look.
2027.
2000 makes no sense. But okay.
Hey, do it right. Do it right.
You know what? Hey, it took Top Gun 2, 15 years?
Yes.
And it
probably
made
longer than that.
And it made $1 billion.
It did.
Incredibles 2 took about a good 10 years.
Yeah.
10, 12 years. It made $1 billion.
Yeah.
So it can happen.
It could happen.
All right. All right. Well, let's hear from you, missionaries, or your emails, or as we like to call them,
missives from the missionaries. So what else is going on, Len?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries. Oh, yeah, I saw it.
Ooh.
Missives from the missionaries.
Missives from the missionaries. We have a follow-up, Vincent, from Sean Simmons.
Okay. All right. What's up, Sean?
Len, I had to follow up on the orca scenario you envisioned. Unfortunately, I can't put it on either parent. It was all me. Do you both remember those quick 10, 15-second TV spots that used to air to promote a movie on premium channels? I can't remember if it was HBO or Cinemax, but that got me. All it showed was a family of orcas swimming along, a kind-looking Indian man that cared for the whale.
Sure, because he was in touch with nature, because 1970.
Showed them attempting to capture a whale. Quick glimpse of Charlotte Rambling, a good 6 Degrees candidate, by the way.
Nice.
Some shots of Michael Harris, who I wasn't familiar with at the time, but 10, 11-year-old me thought he looked like No Beard Charlton Heston from Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
So I went with it. But yeah, it was all me.
Yeah. All right.
I got okie doke by a TV spot.
Yeah.
And no, Len, I wasn't under the couch or anything like that. Just on the couch and in utter disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
All right. While I have you both,
Okay.
quick question about Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Chats about Stevie Wonder and the great run in the 70s through the mid 80s are always a good time on the mission. But what are your thoughts of Stevie in the 60s? You have your hits here and there throughout the decade. I really enjoy his first album, Roll My Eyes, at the He's Blind, so have him sing Ray Charles album.
Sure.
And the Stevie at the Beach.
Mm-hmm.
If you were sitting in the big chair at Tamla Motown in that era, is there something that you would have done differently? What would have been a better avenue for Stevie in the 60s? Because it's a whole lot of throwing against the wall and seeing what sticks. And unfortunately, not a lot stuck, leading to artistic control being a big sticking point in his contract negotiation going into the 70s. Thanks as always, Sean. Where are you on the 60s version of Stevie Wonder, Vince?
I am lukewarm.
Mm-hmm.
I am lukewarm. Like I like Stevie Wonder as he gets older. Like I really like Signed, Sealed, Delivered, which I think, I don't know if that's the last album that he has before he gets his contract in creative freedom, but it's right. Like he's a young man.
Yeah, you can feel the change.
Yeah, and I like Signed, Sealed, Delivered, but I've always been a little lukewarm about little Stevie Wonder.
Me too, because I always felt like they were still trying to fit him into that Motown box. And even then, you could get the sense that there was something more there.
Right.
And I don't know whether or not they had the structure or the creativity to pull it out of him.
Well, the irony is that the formula that they should have used for little Stevie Wonder is a formula that hadn't been created yet, but it would be created in that same house. Like, I think what was so revolutionary about the Jackson 5 is that they sounded like young people. Like, this was actually a young sound, and people who talk about boy bands, a lot of people go to the Jackson 5
to the Jacksons,
as like the first boy, but like they sound like young people making music.
Right.
And with little Stevie Wonder, I always got the sense either, much like you said, little Stevie Wonder does Ray Charles, like they almost treated him like a novelty, or they had him doing grown man music, which just sounded weird.
Yeah.
I guess someone like Frankie Lyman would have been almost a teen sound, but like I don't even think he sounded like Frankie Lyman.
Yeah, but I think they
like that kind of tenor.
But they tried to have him in. I mean, like Fingertips, and there was another song that he did. What was the? Well, a couple of his Christmas songs at that time were a little whatever.
The Christmas album is Stevie. I feel like he was a little older by the time the Christmas album came out.
Than that. But there was another one. Oh, what was the? There was one where he sounds almost like Michael Jackson. It's like one of them Sunny movies.
Well, they say the Christmas album is 67, so he's a little older.
Yeah, because he started because little Stevie is when 64. We're doing this in real time, folks. Bear with us.
I mean, he's definitely older. Right. Because Signed, Sealed, Delivered is 1970. And that's right. So Signed, Sealed, and Delivered is right before Where I'm Coming From, which starts the run.
Right.
So, 67, he's,
He's older,
right.
but
So if
still,
he's like 21 when Where I'm Coming From comes out in 71, right? So he's like 17, 18.
yeah, okay, so he's a teenager.
Right, he's a young man.
Young
but he's
man.
he's a teenager,
but he's
he's
young
not
man.
14.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Not to get all R. Kelly. It's a teenager and then it's a teenager.
We're going to strike that R. Kelly reference out of the show.
It's an extraordinary moment. Remember, Torre asked him, would he date a teenager? And R. Kelly said, well, what do you mean by a teenager? Like it was the worst. It was the worst possible answer that you could give. Well, what do you mean by a teenager? You mean 13, 14, 15? It's a lot of teens. Teenagers go all the way up to 19. You are 40 years old.
Yes.
So, it's a teenager and it's a teenager. So Stevie Wonder was a teenager, but he was an older teenager.
And you would have dated him.
No, I wouldn't have, because it's not appropriate. See how easy that was?
We got another email.
He said, well, what do you mean by teenager? And my favorite part is the look on, because I think it was Torre that was interviewing him. And the look on Torre's face.
I can see Torre just sitting there like,
just like, wait, what?
You're saying, wait, what? I swear, I didn't even see it. I know he just like.
Right. Like it's like early, like I'm a lob you a softball. Hey, man, would you date a teenager? Well, what do you mean by a teenager? It's all kinds of teenagers. 13 is a teenager. 14 is a teenager. 15, all the way up to 19. These are all teenagers. What do you mean by teenager? How is this an answer that a person gives another person?
We'll be back after these messages.
Right. So
you come back all of a sudden. He's sitting there. Here's my guest, Boys to Men.
Right.
We got an email from Nicole Court.
Hey, Nicole.
Hello, Len, Vincent, and missionaries. Can I first start off by saying, every time Len and Vincent have a man moment, I chuckle. Okay. It's very cute and flattering to be showing love to the sisters.
Yes.
You're very welcome. Speaking of which.
Oh. You're not about to talk about a teenager, are you?
No.
Okay.
No. Before we started.
Okay.
I told you that I watched Capricorn 1.
Yes.
This afternoon.
I said Elliot Gould. That's
Elliot Gould.
It's Elliot Gould and O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson's James Brolin. But you know who else is in this movie?
I do. Wait. Because she plays O.J.'s wife. Is it Brenda Sykes?
No. You're close, but it's not.
Who is it?
Denise Nicholas.
Lord have mercy.
Yes. There's a scene where, like, because she's one of the wives.
Right.
And I forget who the third wife is, but one of the wives is Brenda Vaccaro, who looks like her name.
Right.
And Denise Nicholas is sitting there, and they're watching, like, they're going to watch the rocket ship go up.
Right.
And Denise, I swear, it's in the scene, and she is just there with her hand on her chin.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a turban on her. You know how they used to wear, like, little turbans on there?
Sure, why not? Because 1973.
But Brenda Vaccaro says something to her, and Denise just kind of like goes like this.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Denise Nicholas was a problem.
Oh, absolutely.
She was a problem.
Absolutely. I forgot she was in Capricorn 1. It seems like that would have been Brenda Sykes.
Well,
yeah.
Denise said, no, I'll take that.
I'll take that role. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Especially because she didn't have to do any scenes with OJ.
I mean, how is she in 3 scenes?
She's maybe in 4.
That's what I thought.
She's in 4 scenes. I think she has 1 line.
Right. I thought, like we need a pretty black lady to put in a dress to play the wife of the black astronaut. Get Brenda Sykes on the phone. Go ahead.
Anyway.
Yes, go ahead, Nicole.
This man moment brought to you by Gatorade.
Yeah.
Anyway, Denise continues, for you both, as well as the missionaries, I advise you all to check out the Apple TV original #1 on the call sheet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the documentary. I've seen the ad for it.
Mm-hmm.
This 2-part series covered black male actors ranging from Michael B. Jordan, a rare Eddie Murphy pop-out moment, Denzel, of course, and many others. The women include the incomparable Angela Bassett, Halle Berry, Megan Good, Taraji P. Henson, Whoopi, and my girl crush forever, Nia Long.
All right.
Me and Len are going to have to fight over her. Just kidding, of course. No, you're both welcome. Anyway, since the tenure of this show, you guys have discussed what makes a black movie or what qualifies as a black movie. I pose this question, though. When looking at the filmographies of people like Will Smith, Whoopi Goldberg, or even Denzel Washington, to name a few, do people find it hard to classify some or a good chunk of their films as black movies? I'm asking this question partly because I listened to some of the conversation from the Wicked episode. Also, I watched Pretty Woman, the 1990 romantic comedy with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. A fun fact was, as left field as it sounds, Denzel Washington
Like there's absolutely no way that a rich man who falls in love with a sex worker and then sweeps her off her feet does not have a different dynamic if that rich man is black and the sex worker is white. And certainly if the rich man was white and the sex worker was black, like I think or even if the rich man is black and the sex worker is black, like I think the dynamic of that narrative, if it's not two white leads, changes it.
True.
And so many of the films of Denzel Washington and Will Smith, I think you can have a similar film if the lead isn't black. But I do. I do. I think their race absolutely informs 99% of the films that they've been in, even if it's just subtextually.
I'm trying to think if there's anywhere I maybe lean the other way. I think the first one that comes to my mind is the Denzel movie that we recently reviewed.
Book of Eli?
No. It's the one where he's paralyzed. That Bone Collector?
Right. We didn't review Bone Collector. We didn't review Bone Collector. Why are you?
Okay, we didn't review.
You know what else we didn't review?
Yeah.
Sealer and the Spades.
Yeah. No.
You're right.
No.
Right.
Do it right.
I said that we reviewed Sealer and the Spades, but much like Len does all the time, I thought that from a conversation that I had with Len that we had officially reviewed it, and we had not.
Yes.
But so I was wrong.
You owe me an apology.
Oh, I'm sorry, Len. Is that?
That was weak.
I'm sorry.
That was weak.
But I think Denzel Washington being black in The Bone Collector.
I don't know if that necessarily informs his character as much.
No, I think black physicality and black male physicality, it's so difficult to divorce that from the way we take in these films. And I will just say this about The Bone Collector. I don't have a lot of memory of The Bone Collector.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly that's a good one because just the nature of the role, his body is actually not seen. So, but
all right.
All right.
I'm going to move on. We got another email. This is from Ellis Heron.
Hey, what's up, Ellis?
Our man from Fort Worth.
Hey.
Hey, fellas. After listening to your review of Moonwalker, the Michael Jackson film,
yeah.
I understand why you're not impressed with it. Looking at it through the eyes of an adult, you can notice a lot of what's wrong with it or how some of it doesn't make sense. However, since I'm the same age as your previous guest, Erica Washington, I'm as nostalgic about the movie as she is. As children of the 80s, Michael Jackson was everything to us. So anything he did, we knew it was going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to give you a reason to laugh at me for a change, I was part of that group of children who were terrified of the Thriller video.
Yeah.
When Michael turned into that wolf cat, I was out of there. Needless to say, when I first saw Moonwalker, I watched it with one eye open. Granted, him turning into that transformer wasn't as bad, but he still didn't do me any favors. Lastly, I never thought about Michael being amused by children being scared until you brought it up. I seriously don't know what it was about scaring children in the 80s. Even Steven Spielberg said children need to be scared every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
He finally crossed the line, though, with Gremlins and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which the MPAA rewarded him with the reason they created the PG-13 rating. Your boy, Ellis Heron from Fort Worth. P.S. Michael Jackson's Bad was the first cassette tape I ever owned. What was the first piece of music that you ever owned? Well, I've gone on record on our show that the first album that I bought for myself was the debut of New Edition. So that was my first piece of music that was mine that I bought.
I think the first album that I bought like on my own was Introducing the Hard Line by Terrence Trent D'Arby.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's we're ways apart.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember buying Terrence Trent D'Arby.
Wow.
It's a good album too.
You still have it?
I do.
Hold on to it.
I do.
Where's he at?
He changed his name, and I think he's living in England. So he had like two. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole because I'm actually a huge Terrence Trent D'Arby. Let's be clear. That's not the last Terrence Trent D'Arby album that I purchased.
Oh.
I've purchased everything that he's made, but go ahead.
You're the one.
Oh, yeah. I used to argue with people about Neither Fish Nor Flesh, his follow-up.
I was not aware of this album.
I know. We are few, but we are strong. Next week, somebody's going to write in and talk about how much they love Terrence Trent D'Arby. We're out there. We walk among you. The Terrence Trent D'Arby fans.
Okay.
All right.
We got one last email. I believe this, well, we'll see. This is from Michael Sykes.
What's up, Michael?
Hello, Len and Vincent. This weekend, I've been diving deep into some classic funk and R&B treasures that deserve more spotlight.
Nice.
First up is The Times' self-titled 1981 debut album.
Good album.
Crafted under Prince's pseudonym Jamie Starr. This record showcases infectious tracks like Get It Up, Cool, and the soulful ballad Girl. I do
Mhm.
love Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, Prince played most of the instruments himself with Morris Day on lead vocals, setting the stage for the time's unique sound. Which I'm going to stop there for a quick moment. I remember getting into a discussion years ago with our good friend Toya
Mm-hmm.
and her cousin Nikki, who used to do a podcast where they would review the TV show Unsung.
Okay. Oh, yeah. That's a good podcast.
And there was an argument as to whether or not the time,
Mm-hmm.
the group, was unsung. And
Mm.
I made the argument that I don't know if the time is unsung. If you want to say Morris Day himself is possibly unsung, maybe you can make an argument for that. But the time themselves, especially considering how much of the time was Prince,
Right.
I don't know if you could say they were unsung.
I mean, what are you saying? Are you saying that? I mean, they were clearly a band.
No, I'm saying they were clearly a band, but like, did they make such a mark? Because the whole idea of unsung is that you made such a mark in the culture.
Sure.
Yet for whatever reason, you didn't get the shine that you deserve.
Sure.
And I don't know that they made that significant a mark in the culture. Like, I don't think they pulled themselves that far away from the sound that Prince originated.
Sure. But I mean, the time was obviously the sound is a big part. But let's be clear. I keep waiting for Morris Day to sue Bruno Mars every day. Like every day I wake up and I think Morris Day is sued Bruno Mars.
For what?
For taking his entire stilo.
Oh, please, no. That's never going to happen.
Bruno Mars channels 1985 Morris Day like he's Morris Day's son. And now that I've said it, you won't be able to unsee it.
No, I don't see it.
Okay. Go listen to some Bruno Mars.
Okay, but there's plenty of artists that you can listen to that.
No. I mean the whole style, like his little side man and that kind of pimpish, like.
I've never seen him like.
Oh no, you can hear him on the songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah.
All right. Continue with Michael's email.
Mm-hmm.
Next, I've been grooving to Prince's 1980 album, Dirty Mind.
Okay.
This album is a bold fusion of funk, new wave, R&B, and pop. Prince notably, Party Up was originally written by Morris Day. Prince offered him a choice, $10,000 or the opportunity to join a new band project. Morris chose the latter, leading to the formation of The Time. It's fascinating how Dirty Mind often gets overshadowed by Prince's later monumental albums like 1999, Purple Rain, and Sign of the Times, yet its raw energy and genre-blending creativity laid the groundwork for his future masterpieces. Revisiting these albums has been a reminder of the rich musical tapestry that both Prince and The Time have woven. P.S. Len, I know you don't like Morris Day. And I know that you're as picky as a toddler at a veggie buffet. But give the Times 1981 album a spin. You might just get so lost in the groove that you'll forget to ask, what time is it? Love, your fan. I
didn't know you didn't like Morris Day.
It's not that I don't like Morris Day. I don't think Morris Day is like some great, like, lost talent. I honestly don't. I like him. I appreciate him for what he is, but I don't think he's like this great talent that time has forgotten. No, I don't. And as far as The Time, like he mentioned Girl. I love Girl.
Mm-hmm.
I like Ice Cream Castles. I like The Time. I just don't think that they changed the game as much. The Time gave us Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Sure.
And then Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis made their mark outside The Time. That's what I think The Time for.
So, but you do acknowledge that no Time, no Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis.
I acknowledge that.
Okay.
But I think Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis used The Time, as a building block for, okay, what do we want our sound to sound like? And then they pulled away. They actually outside of The Time pulled away from the Prince sound. Okay. I think The Time itself never really developed to a point where they found their own sound.
Look, I think you actually name check Ice Cream Castles. Like, I'll fight you over the first 2 albums, and Ice Cream Castles, I might wave my fist at you. I ain't gonna fight you over Ice Cream Castles. And then I think that's it until Pandemonium, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so,
All right. I thought we did. We have one more email.
all right.
This is from Michael Lockett.
Hey, what's up,
Not
Michael?
to be outdone. Evening, gents and fellow missionaries. I show up to and for the mission because I know I will always have a good time.
Okay, good.
If not with the films, then definitely with the side conversations. The 2 films from the past 7 days, even being 180 degrees from each other, fit this to a T. It needs just a capital T. It's not T-E-E or T-E-A.
Right.
The Young Wife, which we reviewed,
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
I have nothing but praise for this work. I wanted more. I wanted spin-offs and series based on it. The deft hand that was used to tell this story was impeccable. The nuance in the tones, camera angles, and what the director got out of a magnificent cast was all on point. I think what we got in this was what I was hoping for in Brown Girl Begins. Absolutely right, Michael.
Mm.
At the complete other end of the spectrum was the film, the movie that had to happen, called Rappin'. I loved how bad this film was. As soon as I realized this was the film, I took my drink to the kitchen and just sat it down. I say thee nay to the spit take. For anyone familiar with the mission but has not listened to the Beat Street episode, for the love of Pete, please do. This is the film that replaced The Last Dragon as Len's arch enemy. Very true.
John Rappin' Hood.
In other movie news, I don't know if you two saw the clips of the 3rd installment of the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales,
Yes.
but it's off the chain.
Yes.
I think both of you made it clear that you believe that the Spider-Verse films are the best overall superhero films made to date. Taking out all the live action superhero films, what would you two put as the top 3 or 4 animated superhero films made to date? I personally have a soft spot for Flashpoint Paradox, as after Batman, there is no other DC hero I like more than the quippy Flash. All the best, Michael Lockett. So we're going to take the live action films out the equation.
Okay.
We're just going to look at all of your animated superhero films, and because he name checks Flashpoint Paradox, he's opening the door to the direct-to-video.
Right.
Which now, okay, Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse movies 1 and 2, boom,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Incredibles 1 and 2, boom, done.
Yeah.
5, I'm probably fighting it out between 3 films in my head. One is New Frontier. But there's a part of me that, as much as I love New Frontier, I think most of that is built because I love the book so much more.
It's not as good. Yeah.
The other one would be Batman Year One, because I really do like Batman Year One, but I think that's also the same situation.
How to say?
Am I really just caping for the for the book?
That's 100%
Even
what
though,
you're doing.
to be fair, both films are good.
They're not bad, but you're really just thinking about
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So then
Come on, it's only one. Come on, stop. Go ahead and land where you have to land.
I'm not sure where you're going to go. So I'm going to save where, and plus I want to make sure and look up the title. Which one are you going to say?
Look, you got to do Mask of the Phantasm or Return of the Joker.
Yeah, Return of the Joker.
Yeah.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in my head, I was like, it's not
like
the Joker.
Like, why are we going to pretend Bruce Timm isn't going to show up?
But it's Return of the Joker, the unedited version.
Of course. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my 5.
Yeah.
That's my 5.
Yeah. I have nothing to add. I have nothing to add. Yeah.
I do think it's interesting though that there's no Marvel in there. I mean, Marvel very rarely, and I guess Spider-Verse is technically Marvel, but it's features. It's actually Sony
Right.
putting it together.
Right. They stumbled into that.
Right. Absolutely.
Like they stumbled.
They fell back.
Like that really is a perfect example of what happens when teacher isn't watching.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
And you let talented people do what they do.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go.
So
there you go, Mike. All right. That is your emails. If you want to have your thoughts read and listened to and dispelled here on the mission, please send your missives to Micheaux Mission at gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION at gmail.com. All right. It is now time for the Game of Kings.
True animated feature.
6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin. Six Degrees of D'Urville Martin, where I give Vincent 2 actors and he has 6 films or less to connect them to D'Urville Martin, that man of cinema, stage, that thespian, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Vincent, we're going to keep this in theme.
Okay.
We are reviewing tonight Enemy Mine from 1985.
We are.
Which stars Oscar-winning actor Louis Gossett Jr.
Yes, it does.
And it also stars Dennis Quaid.
Yes, it does.
An actor who we reliably look forward to seeing in films until recently, where it came out that he is a huge supporter of our current president.
Hey, man, that doesn't have nothing to do with his talent.
It seems to, because ever since I've learned that and I've seen him in films, he doesn't do good work anymore.
Just okay. All right.
Pretty middling.
Okay. All right. Fair
so
enough.
Keeping in theme,
okay,
here are 2 other actors who perhaps you had a soft spot for. But maybe now, since learning that they support our current president,
sure,
you may think differently of.
them.
Okay.
Okay.
Starting with number 1.
Number 1.
In 6 films or less, connect D'Urville Martin to Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey Grammer. Yeah. Pretty notorious Republican. I have to say, I try to be agnostic about these people because let's be clear. I feel like my beliefs and morals and ethics and values don't often align with rich white people. So if I go down that road, I'm not going to like anybody. But Kelsey Grammer. Now, the funny thing about Kelsey Grammer, let's just kill the suspense. I'm going right to the beast. But does he have a lot of movie work?
Fair amount.
Like, he kind of made that Frasier money, I thought. And
he did make the Frasier money, but he has made quite a few films.
Like, I remember Down Periscope.
Yeah,
but I don't remember who else was in that. But all right,
he's done a lot of voice work.
Sure. All right, well, look, let's do this. Let's do this. All right, this is what I'll do. Let me see if I can do this. I need you to answer a question for me.
Okay.
Is that Amy Adams in Her?
Is it the voice? Because that's not...
Well, the voice is Scarlett Johansson, but I think she's in it too.
Amy Adams. Looking up her filmography real quick. Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to need the name of a movie, but because we were just talking about Paradise. So, D'Urville Martin is, of course, in 5 on the Black Hand Side with Dick Anthony Williams, who's in Mo Better Blues with Sam Jackson, who is in Take Your Pick of the Marvel films. We'll just say Avengers, with Scarlett Johansson. How many is that now? So I said Dick Anthony Williams, Samuel Jackson, Scarlett Johansson, who is in her with Amy Adams.
Mhm.
Amy Adams is in what's the singing movie with James Marsden, where he plays the prince.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a pretty big hit.
So is it an Amy?
I think
Adams
it's Amy
movie?
Adams and James Marsden. And if I have that combination wrong, I'm gonna just have to go and
Enchanted.
Enchanted with James Marsden. Then James Marsden is, of course, in I think X-Men: The Last Stand with Kelsey Grammer.
Very good.
Right.
Very good.
You know, I'm really appreciating James Marsden lately, so I want to get him in there.
Oh, you know what? I've heard of this film. I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it.
I definitely didn't see it, but
Enchanted.
but yeah,
Okay.
yeah. All right.
Very good, Vincent.
Okay.
Well done. Now, just to answer your question, Kelsey Grammer was definitely in Down Periscope,
Yeah.
but he's done, as I mentioned, quite a lot of voice work. He was in the film, the animated film Anastasia.
Okay.
He was in Toy Story 2.
Oh,
He's
that's
Stinky Pete.
right. Yo, I know Sam Jackson was in the Marvels. I just want to talk about James Marsden. I took the long way home. Sometimes you take the long way home.
He was also
Daddy, can we drive through the city and go home? Yeah, go ahead.
he was also in the Simpsons movie
Of course.
because he
He's
was.
Sideshow Bob. Of course.
There you go.
That's right. My tattoo doesn't say die, Bart, die. It's actually German for the Bart, the.
And just he got from out behind the microphone, but just in front of the camera and Think Like a Man 2, The Expendables 3.
Neither films have I seen.
Okay.
It's just the truth. I just haven't seen them. I haven't seen all the films.
I thought you did.
No, I did right. Just didn't watch all the films. All right, fine. Who's next? Who's the next? Are these Republicans or Trumpers?
Well, these are decidedly, they have stated their support for Trump.
These are Trump people.
They're Trump
Like these
people.
are right.
So they may be Republicans,
But
they
they
may
also-
have a lifelong, like Kelsey Grammer,
Like a
I know
right.
it's been a lifelong
right. I didn't know
Republican,
he was in the Trump death
but
cult.
he has actually supported
All right. It's
Trump. Now, I don't know about death cult, but he supported him. He
it's-
voted for him.
it's clearly a death cult.
Well,
but-
that's how I feel.
All right, go ahead. Who's next?
In 6 films or less,
Okay.
connect Derville Martin to
2.
Christy Swanson, who was, before you ask,
Where did they find Christy Swanson?
well,
Why was someone talking to Christy Swanson? Seriously?
do you know who Christy Swanson is?
Yes, she's Buffy the Vampire
Okay, all right, I don't
Slayer.
have to tell you.
Christy Swanson. Was she like on break at PetSmart? She was on her break at PetSmart. She had on like her little vest. It said Christy. What's the last movie Christy Swanson made? Let's be clear. I'm going to use Buffy, and also we've talked about her because she was in Higher Learning. You said Christy Swanson.
She's done work.
What is the last thing she was in?
The last thing I'm showing here was in 2021. She was in Courting Mom and Dad. I don't know what that was. It doesn't have a link. So.
George Kimona said we can talk about Dean Cain too. She was hanging out with Dean Cain and Kevin Sorbo.
Is Dean Cain a Trump supporter?
Oh yeah. Oh
I didn't
yeah.
know that. I know Kevin Sorbo.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
thank you for that. You said Christy Swanson. That's why she can't get work too. That's what she said. I can't get work because of my politics.
Her and Gina Carano.
Oh boy, oh my God. You said Christy Swanson. All jokes aside, I really like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
The movie.
The movie.
But to be fair, she's in the movie. She's the original.
Well, you're saying to be fair, I just informed people that she was in the movie. Like no one knows, like everyone thinks, like I said, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the entire world said, that's not who you just said. That's Sarah Gellar.
Right.
Because
Sarah Michelle
Gellar, because nobody, knows about the movie.
But you said, see, I've never seen the movie.
I really like the movie.
I've never seen the movie. I've never saw the series.
Yeah, I actually really like the movies. I always thought Josh Whedon was a little oversold. Like I was ambivalent about Josh Whedon before it was cool to be ambivalent about Josh Whedon.
Mm-hmm.
And Buffy the Vampire Slayer was part of the reason why. Like I always thought Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the television show, was too cool for school. But the movie I thought was a lot sharper.
Okay. Pardon
the pun, because it's a vampire. And she's good in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But and she's good because she's acting opposite, for the most part, Donald Sutherland.
Oh, is he in that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I did not know that.
And Donald Sutherland is, of course, in The Split.
Yes.
With Diane Carroll, who is in Paris Blues with Sidney Poitier, who, as we all know, was in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Derville Martin. And that's how you get from world-renowned actor of stage and screen, Christy Swanson, who is very supportive of Donald Trump, and Derville Martin. Yeah.
Well done, Vincent.
Yeah.
Well done. All right.
Paul Rubin is in Buffy the Vampire Slayer too. It's a good movie. Like it's really smart.
I have to see it.
Yeah.
I have to see it. All right. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It is now time for us to move into our review of Enemy Mine. Enemy Mine, a 1985 American science fiction film directed by Wolfgang Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Edward Camara, based on the Barry B. Longyear's novella of the same name. The film stars Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. as a human and alien soldier, respectively, who become stranded together on an inhospitable planet and must overcome their mutual distrust in order to cooperate and survive. An international co-production between the United States, the United Kingdom, and West Germany. Enemy Mine began production in Budapest in April of 1984 under the direction of Richard Lancrane, who quickly ran into quote-unquote creative differences.
Mm-hmm.
And thus, Wolfgang Peterson took over and reshot many of the scenes before moving the production to Munich. Budgeted at $17 million, the film ultimately cost $40 million and was a box office failure that earned over $12 million during the holiday season of '85. However, it was successful in the Soviet Union and would grow to be considered a cult favorite in the science fiction community.
Sure.
And it is also notable as this film was Louis Gossett Jr.'s follow-up to after winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in Officer and a Gentleman.
Right. He made some other stuff, but this is the one.
Right.
That, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this film is Vincent's selection for our first stop in Octavia April. Vincent, what say you of Enemy Mine?
Well, I have to say, Enemy Mine is a film. It's part of a group of films that I have a certain amount of affection for.
Mm-hmm.
Like these very ordinary, maybe solid science fiction films in the 80s. And I have a soft spot because I feel bad for it. Because the 80s were just an embarrassment of riches. I just jotted down a couple of things, like just very quickly between 1980 and right around 1985. Like you look, Road Warrior comes out in 1981. Escape from New York is also 1981. 1982 is Blade Runner, The Thing, and E.T.
True.
1984 is Terminator. 1985 is Cocoon and Back to the Future. The year after this comes out, you've got Aliens, and then in 1987, you've got Predator. I've not mentioned what's going on with Star Wars.
Nope.
I didn't mention Wrath of Khan.
Not about to say Star Trek is back up and running by then.
Like it really is a moment that if you are just an ordinary science fiction film, it's very easy to get lost in the sauce. And let's be clear, Enemy Mine is a very, I'm not going to say nondescript, but it is very much a film that does not stand out as a science fiction film. I think the story, as many critics point out, is almost a boilerplate narrative by 1985. The two enemy soldiers have to figure out how to be friends together, how to coexist. This is a storyline that they made at least 2 or 3 films in the 50s about World War II. With United States soldiers and either a German soldier or a Japanese soldier who have to figure out how to get along. And even here on the mission, people have pointed out the similarities in narrative between this and the Defiant Ones. So
Tony Curtis and Sidney Poitier.
And the film itself knows this. Like, the film starts out and it is in the future, the late 21st century, as they say, perhaps later than that, because Earth has begun to explore outer space. And as we explore outer space, there's another group out there, an alien civilization called the Drax. And we are now at war. Film Info dumps this in a voiceover within the first 2 minutes. There is a very nondescript space battle. Dennis Quaid's character, Louis Gossett Jr.'s character, who is a Drac. Dennis Quaid's character, Willis, Louis Gossett Jr.'s character, Jarrus, who they call Jerry, crash land, and then the film begins.
Yes.
So, just as a story, you immediately know that it's going to end up that these two characters are going to find some type of understanding, find some type of way, middle ground to get along. And just to kind of put it into context, this film is an hour and 50 minutes. At the half-hour mark, Jerry learns English and the friendship begins. So, half hour in, everything is said, and then the film kind of unfolds from there. You mentioned a little bit of the controversy is such a strong word with the production, where the initial director, as you said, is Richard Lundgren, and he has creative differences with the studio about the footage that he has shot. And I know we use creative differences as this sort of catch-all for a sexier story. But I have to say, from everything that I've read, it really was creative differences.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't like the footage. They didn't like the way he was setting up things. They didn't like the way Louis Gossett Jr. looked in the costume, which we'll get to. They didn't like it. they bring in Wolfgang Petersen, who is a pretty well-renowned director at this point. And he signs up because he likes the script and kind of, as you said, reshoots things and puts it together.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be clear, this is not, you know, I don't know, Dune, you know, or Blade Runner, where you have this director with this auteur's vision, that they then bring to the project. This is a film that looks like it was shot on sound stages, and to give the film credit, I think this is very intentional. Like I think it sort of wants to harken back to the serials.
Yeah.
Like it looks a little bit like the Flash Gordon serials. But even in that regard, I think a film that leans into that aesthetic more is something that comes out 5 years before that. Once again, we're in the 80s. Dino De Laurentiis's Flash Gordon.
Oh, okay.
Which, you know, he goes balls to the wall with it. And this is a film, people hate it. People love it. By 1985, it has also become a cult. But he actually has leaned into this vision. Petersen, you don't get that much. The main actors in this film, the main performances, as you point out, is Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. Dennis Quaid, all jokes aside about his political leanings, I think Dennis Quaid really turned into an interesting actor in the 90s, frankly. Like, I like what he was doing as an actor in the 90s. But in the 80s, I really always found him to be sort of a Kirkland brand Harrison Ford. Like, he's kind of solid. You know, he's got sort of that 50s, 60s leading man look to him.
Yep.
But it's nothing like you can't get Harrison Ford. Kurt Russell has his own thing going on.
That's right.
Like he's got his own twist.
That's right.
On sort of this leading man.
And Jeff Bridges said no.
Jeff Bridges is an actor with a capital A. We'll get Dennis Quaid.
Exactly.
And I think he's fine. Like, he's fine. He plays his position. He delivers his lines. He gets them across. He's acting against someone who's won an Academy Award, who is a world-renowned actor at this point. Like, by the time Louis Gossett is in this film, he's been in A Raisin in the Sun and An Officer and a Gentleman. And Dennis Quaid does fine. And then you have Louis Gossett Jr., who, frankly, brings way more class to this film than it deserves. Having said that, he's under a pound of makeup. So he's acting through this makeup. So as a film, the merits are very C+. I think there are two things that make this film interesting, though.
Okay.
First, again, this narrative of the enemy soldiers who then become friends, which is one that you've seen a half dozen times by this point, and since then we've seen versions of it, is pretty much by the book. You can go get popcorn, go to the bathroom. You're not really going to miss anything. But then it swerves.
Yes.
An hour and a half in. And Louis Gossett Jr.'s alien character, Jerry, is pregnant and has an alien baby. And then Louis Gossett Jr.'s character dies. And now the film is Dennis Quaid and a little alien boy.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's episode 2.
Which isn't necessarily good or better than when Louis Gossett Jr. is there, but I give it credit for just being bizarre. Like, for about 5 minutes, it's Dennis Quaid in this weird puppet that he's pretending is an alien baby. And it's so bizarre that I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And then just the fact that, as you said, the movie turns into a brand new movie for the last half hour, 45 minutes is something you just don't see. As you know, someone mentioned this is a version of Hell in the Pacific. Hell in the Pacific, the Japanese soldier didn't have a baby and then die 30 minutes before the film is off.
I know.
So, you know, that I think is worth noting. And then it's the reason I think we should talk about it here. The racial politics in this thing are insane. Like, this is absolutely the type of film that I don't think you could make anymore. This notion of the alien as the other, paralleling blackness as the other, is something that you see a great deal during this period in the 80s. You know, it's if you are a Star Trek fan, it is a long and sort of it's a bit embarrassing bit of Star Trek lore that the Klingons are always black people in this makeup. You know, when they become the modern Klingons.
The modern Klingons,
so much so that there was a wonderful joke on In Living Color about it, where they talked about the aliens in Star Trek. It was always just black people with a butt on their head or something. And you saw this sort of thing. Alien, it was infamously played by a black actor, the alien itself. And certainly people have talked about the alien image as this sort of this sort of kind of distillation of kind of middle-class fear of these urban spaces. We'll talk about this more in a few weeks, but I've, you know, read more than one critique of Predator that talks about Predator's tendrils that look very much like locks. And this film, I think, is part of this conversation where the humans are almost exclusively white. I took note, there is a female black navigator in the first minute.
Yes.
And then at the end, when they rescue Willis, Dennis Quaid's character, and they wheel him through the space station, very quickly you see a shot of a black soldier.
Yes, you do.
But there are no black humans that are actual characters. And even the black navigator, I want to say she has a line, but it's basically, oh, they're coming. And then you don't see her. This sense that humanity is white and then the other is other runs through this thing.
That's true.
And the fact that Louis Gossett Jr. is the main alien really reinforces this. Then there's Louis Gossett Jr. himself. You kept saying, and I understand why you say it. Like you kept when you introduced the film, you were like, oh, it's the film Enemy Mine with starring Louis Gossett Jr. and Dennis Quaid. Starring Louis Gossett Jr. and Dennis Quaid. And that is factually incorrect.
Right.
This film stars Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. Louis Gossett Jr. has second billing under Dennis Quaid. And let's be clear, at this point in Dennis Quaid's career, the biggest thing he's been in is he was part of the ensemble in The Right Stuff. And certainly when we talk about The Right Stuff, I don't know how long you talk about The Right Stuff before you bring up Dennis Quaid. Like he's solid.
Yeah, he's there, but he's not
there.
The guy
but like nobody's talking about Dennis Quaid in The Right Stuff. Dennis Quaid's big thing is that he's a white man. And his white manness trumps this Oscar winner. Like, it is extraordinary to me that at no point in the production of this film, no point in the development of this film, no one said maybe Louis Gossett Jr. should be the human. And we put Dennis Quaid in the makeup. Like this is never even
Yeah, I'm sure that never came up
for consideration.
Not at all.
And I saw an interview with Louis Gossett Jr. where they asked him why people have asked him kind of politely over the years, why did you even take this role? And I saw an interview from maybe 10 years ago where he said everyone else had passed on it. And he tried to frame it like it was a challenge. But I think you look at Louis Gossett Jr.'s filmography after An Officer and a Gentleman, and you see how Hollywood treats him. Like you see how he, again, after winning an Oscar, is consigned to being the sort of the wise black man. We've talked about it before. He ends up, his sort of most enduring role from this period is he's in 4 of the Iron Eagle films, which was the knockoff to Top Gun. So I think it's fascinating just how this fits into this conversation that we've had throughout this tenure about how black actors were treated in the 80s. But then black people in science fiction in the 80s, again, this is really the golden age of science fiction films.
You just laid them all out.
And again, this is like, I left some, like between 1980 and 1990, this is gold. And between 1980 and 1990, we've talked about Brother from Another Planet, which was basically a cult, a art house film even when it came out.
Right.
We're going to talk about Predator too, but
pickings are slim.
The pickings are very slim, which I think says a lot about the 1980s, and certainly a film that is textually about combating bigotry. It's a film about crossing our cultural lines, but it's sort of this great example of this type of science fiction where we want to talk about race, but we don't actually want to have any people in it who are another race.
Right.
So we'll talk about robots and aliens and other things, but we don't really want any icky black people there for real. So for me, that's what makes it interesting.
Okay. It definitely is an interesting film. 100%. And it's interesting. You talked about Wolfgang Peterson, kind of like turning this story into like a piece of like probably like comfort food for him in the harkening back to the serials. I didn't see it harkening back to the serials, but I agree that there's an idea of like just packaging this as like, something comfortable, easy lift for him, right? He's not, Wolfgang Peterson, by this time he's coming off of Never Ending Story. So he's like, sure.
Another film.
Sure. This two guys on a set. All right, where's the camera? Let's go. And I think what he harkens back to actually in this movie is the comfort food of Star Trek, which is because watching this, it feels like an extended episode of Star Trek. Like for all, like that could easily be Captain Kirk, William Shatner fighting the Gorn. Down there, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm sitting there watching. Now, I will say I got taken in by 1985 by some of the practical effects in this movie, like the use of miniatures for the ships and stuff like that. That took me back in time to the early days of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where they use miniatures, to Star Wars, where they use miniatures. And even though there are miniatures, there's something about just tangible items that you can kind of like feel their weight, feel the substantialness of that is something. That's not like a computer image that I really appreciated. Okay. At the top of this, the kind of like dogfight that starts at the beginning of this movie, that really pulled me in because it's been forever since I've seen this movie. And outside the fact that it's Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr., I didn't remember one bit of this movie except, they get stranded on an island or a planet.
Sure.
I didn't remember the whole thing about the Drax being, neither man nor woman.
Right.
So that Louis Gossett Jr. all of a sudden it's going into labor. I'm like, I felt for Dennis Quaid character in that moment because he's like, "You're what?"
Yeah.
Because I ain't touch you.
Right.
Who is who else is on this planet? Like, hold up. So I have forgotten all about that. But again, like smart science fiction, I like that. It's actually now seeing this, I see what Seth MacFarlane was homaging in his show, The Orville, with the characters that he created there who were just males and they gave birth and everything. But anyway, it all got to start here and then
there you go.
Who knew? But so I like that return to that comfort food.
Okay.
Right? I enjoyed that. Dennis Quaid always came across to me as like a $3 Jeff Bridges. Like, we can't afford Jeff Bridges. And Kevin Bacon's doing something. Let's get Dennis Quaid. And Dennis Quaid might as well be William Shatner in this movie. He's having fun. Like you said, he's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine. He's not, he's neither hurting it or helping it. He's in the pocket that you need to get the lines across, to get us to the next scene.
Sure.
So we can progress. Okay. Meanwhile, Louis Gossett Jr., to your point, hidden under tons of makeup and having to learn. He's not even speaking words for most of the beginning of this film. It's really, really bringing it. So all of the trappings and aesthetics and effects of this movie, I appreciate. I get lost a little bit in the whole, I guess it's not American, but the United Earth imperialism of it all. We're now in the future and, well, we've spread ourselves all over Earth. Let's go find some planets to go and make our own. I'm like, that's what y'all do.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're in a war with the Drax because, far be it for the aliens that are out there, other people that are living in the solar system to have had the same thought as you. Right. That maybe we can also go to another planet. Right. Right. Oh, heaven forbid. Yeah. Right. And then, you're shooting them, you're killing them. All of a sudden they're your enemies. And then when you find yourselves on an island, on the planet, all of a sudden, the alien has to learn your language first. Sure. Right? Which to me, in my headcanon was like, okay, the Drax, or Jerry, as he called the name that Will gave him, recognize, I'm smarter than this guy. So let me learn how to talk first. Sure. And then I can teach him my language. To be fair, in the 3 years that they spend on this planet, he does teach him his language. There's a lot of quick jump cuts of time in this movie, which I'm fine with. If you read comics and you watch science fiction, you can follow this type of stuff. Sure. I can see some people maybe getting a little lost.
Dennis Quaid went full Grizzly Adams by the end.
Yeah. He's which I'm like, oh, okay. for doing this.
No, give me the other wig. Are you sure, Mr. Quaid?
Give me. So I'm watching that and I'm into it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I've seen this before.
Sure.
I know where this is going.
Right.
You know, they got to get away from the alien in the hole that's, you know, it's just going to eat them.
Sure.
You know, I'm like, all right, you know, you've got you couldn't afford Jim Henson, so you got Barry Henson to do your Muppets.
Right.
Okay, fine. It works. It works. You're killing all these little turtle type things for the shells to build your home. Okay, it works.
Yeah.
It's whenever you're pulling out steak knives and you're holding them on.
Yeah.
All right, it works.
Yeah, it's fine.
But then Louis Gossett gives birth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
and he can't just give birth because, as in any drama, when someone gives birth in an uncomfortable setting, it means they have to die.
Yes.
And now we're stuck with Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid. Yeah.
And Kermit the Frog.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just moving his head around.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What
Oh, yeah.
are we doing?
Oh, yeah.
Because it goes on for about a good 5 minutes.
They commit to the puppet baby.
I mean, all of a sudden the puppet baby is Baby Yoda on his back. He's jumping around.
They commit to it.
I'm like, what? And unless you think that the puppet didn't have a life, later in the film, there's a young boy puppet that is flailed around, thrown onto rocks. Dennis Quaid actually lands on the puppet at one moment. I'm like, what are we doing with this movie? Like, it's almost as if they were like, oh, it's not a feature length yet. I tell you what we're gonna do.
I like to believe Louis Gossett Jr. said, I'm not putting on this makeup anymore.
It's like, y'all had me for 3 days.
Right.
My 3 days are over.
Right.
I'm out.
Right.
I am due on the set of Iron Eagle. So goodbye. You know what? That probably is it.
Or like remember what was it? The Powers of Michael Matthew Starr?
I want to think it was Iron Eagle.
Okay.
At least it was going to be his movie.
It wasn't The Powers of Matthew Starr?
No.
Iron Eagle wasn't his movie.
But it became his movie.
Right after Jason Patrick left.
Okay, but he was a co-star in the movie. He's like the co-lead in Iron Eagle.
Was he
I think he's a co-lead in Iron Eagle.
The co-lead is doing a lot of work in that sentence.
I'd rather look that up than this. Yeah, he's the co-lead. He's on the cover. He's on the poster.
He's on the cover because he's the one with the Oscar. But that clearly is Jason Patrick's movie.
He's in first of all, it's Jason Gidrick.
I'm sorry.
Jason Patrick would never. And according to here, he's number one on the call sheet.
Ooh, Jason Gidrick. Have they asked him how he feels about Trump?
He's on his break at Home Depot.
Right.
I'll ask Chrissy to.
I was going to make a joke about Scott Baio, but I think Scott Baio might actually have money.
Oh, Scott Baio has money.
Yeah, Scott Baio has money.
He's got money.
Like, he don't have to act anymore.
That's why he's actually a friend of Trump.
Right. How about that?
There you go.
How about that?
There's the difference.
Like, I want to make Scott Baio jokes, but Scott Baio quietly, I think, has money. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So it is at that point when it becomes Sesame Street in space that I'm like, all right, y'all have lost me.
That's when you should have went to Google Scholar and started looking up to see if anyone had written about enemy mine and race.
Well, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. I just like, well, I got to finish the film.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I could go. Oh, there's a young Carolyn McCormick before Law and Order shows up. Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
But this movie's still going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to see all the like the racial like subtext
Mhm.
there. I want to see it, and I recognize that it probably is there,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't care,
Okay.
and I was checked out.
And I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I really do think even within that perspective, this is a film that is really much more a part of a larger conversation.
Yes.
Like, you know, I infamously say all the time, the film that I think talks about race but doesn't have any black people in it.
The Dark Crystal?
I think,
Labyrinth?
you know, I think Blade Runner is the blackest movie with no black people in it at all. Like, that's a film that textually is about escaped slaves and passing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the actual plot of the film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there are no black people in it. And, you know, if I'm going to talk about this, I would spend way more time talking about Blade Runner. And even as you said, they spend, you know, it's not even lip service to this notion of human imperialism
Mm-hmm.
running up against another race that also has imperialist sort of appetites. Did you watch Space Above and Beyond? Came on in the 90s.
I feel like I did.
Space Above and Beyond deals with that better than this. The alien as a stand-in for minority.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this. Alienation
Yep.
deals with it in much sharper ways
Mm-hmm.
than this. So I don't fault you for checking out. Like, I think this is a film that I think many of us give up. You know, I think about this. I think about something like, you know, The Last Starfighter.
Wow.
You know, these films that kind of like people have this affection for,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we have affection for them because they're underdogs. Like The Last Starfighter, and I don't know this for a fact, but like The Last Starfighter, like probably came out the same week as like Wrath of Khan.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I don't know if it did, but it, you know, it was so Trump tight
Mm-hmm.
in the 80s that these like little films came out, but like Back to the Future is still playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, Terminator is in the theater and then this comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, Buckaroo Banzai comes out, which is not a hit at all, but it immediately becomes a cult classic.
Immediately.
So, you know, people are talking about cult classics and you're like, oh, well, some. It's like, yeah, but have you seen Buckaroo Banzai? Have you seen They Live?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
Yes. Yeah.
This is the little film that could.
You just said it. Enemy Mine becomes the movie in that list. Like, oh, like Enemy Mine? Yeah. Or Buckaroo Banzai. You quickly
and then
jump
everyone
over,
starts talking about Buckaroo Banzai.
right? Yeah.
So
That's
I
what it
hear, you
becomes.
know, the film is basically in the first paragraph
Mm-hmm.
of an article about much richer text.
Yeah.
But again, I do think it says so much also, just to pivot a little bit, about where these black actors who should have been leading men are. Like again, throughout this moment from the 80s, from 1980 to 1990, you know, Denzel Washington is starting to come into his own by 1990. So he's not a leading man. Will Smith is not on the scene yet. Eddie Murphy, I think, is so busy being a comedian, basically, and just sort of being Eddie Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
that you have this weird cohort of films that there are no black people, there are no black leading men, there are no black leading women, and again, you know, to go back to something like Paradise, where this character that Sterling K. Brown plays, in 1980, he never would have played this character. Like, they would have found a Dennis, we're saying like Dennis Quaid. It'd have been Dennis Quaid. Or, again, it's a list of people that would have gotten on there. Or as we talked about with the letters, Will Smith has a whole career playing leading roles in these science fiction films where he can represent humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can be the human.
Mm-hmm.
And then the aliens are the other.
Right.
And that's a completely different dynamic. So something like Men in Black, which is about aliens.
Yep.
But Will Smith gets to be the everyman. He gets to be
our window.
He's our point of view window character. Independence Day, he's the hero. Mm-hmm. The aliens are the other. The robots are stand-in for an oppressed class. But when the hero is black, you get a whole different dynamic. Enemy Mine is something that ages terribly in this regard, which ironically makes it super interesting to me.
Does that make it a black film?
Oh, I think it's absolutely a black film. Like, I think the crazy thing is when you look, like I joked about looking up this film, and let's be clear, like I won up in the Temple University library digging for, like, I spent like maybe 20 minutes looking up stuff. There's not a lot written about it.
No.
Like, there are a couple of books that people have written about race and science fiction, where, as I said, it's referenced.
Mm-hmm.
But no one has really talked about this film from this perspective that much. And I honestly think it's because there are other films that, frankly, are more interesting.
Exactly.
When you talk about this.
You named one, Alienation.
Yeah, but I do think it's a black film.
Yeah, it is a black film. It is a black film. I would agree for all those same reasons. To cut to our final question, can't say that I would recommend the film. Which is not where I thought I
is played by the actor Brian James. And Brian James might not be a name that you know, but he certainly is a face that you recognize. And if you love science fiction, and if you love 80s science fiction, he is one of the replicants in Blade Runner. So that you see him dressed up in future leather jacket, looking like the replicant in Blade Runner. This is a film that commits the cardinal sin of reminding you of better films.
Oh, there you go.
So
would you recommend?
You know what, Len, I wouldn't. And it kind of hurts my heart to say that because I've seen this film a lot. But I was also blessed to be alive at the moment where I was watching all of these in real time. And when I watched this film, like I had I'd seen all the films that I listed, and then the other films were coming out next week. This was just part of the circuit.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the 21st century, as someone who wants to revisit science fiction from this period, it's easily 20 films that you should be watching before this once. And maybe twice. Like we haven't even mentioned like Total Recall or The Running Man or you know, we just talking about science fiction.
I know.
We haven't even mentioned Gremlins.
So safe to say, safe to say, as we close down this episode and picking up on something that we've touched on recently, in rebuilding our physical media library.
Yeah.
Enemy Mine is not making the shelf.
I'm not going to get like the Enemy Mine box set with the little puppet. With the little
not going to get that?
The little puppet. Little puppet.
We're not purchasing that.
Not going to purchase that.
Okay. That just want to know.
It's not like my beautiful Blade Runner box set that I have with the little models from where he designed the sets, and I have the little origami unicorn. Like it came with the origami unicorn.
Nice.
That you see at the end of the film.
That is very nice.
It's origami unicorn.
I am happy for you.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, that is our review of Enemy Mine, missionaries. Before we tell you what we're going to be reviewing next week, I invite you to share your thoughts with us. Send us your missives to micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's micheauxmission@gmail.com. You can also like and follow the Micheaux Mission on the social media of your choice at Micheaux Mission. And if you want to listen to our show, you can check it out on the audio podcast catcher of your choice, whether or not that be Apple or Spotify or wherever you find good audio podcasts. You will find the Micheaux Mission. We go up 2 times a week. Today, on Tuesday, we put up Mission Logs, the best of the Micheaux Mission. We put up our review from 2018 of 1999's The Best Man with Tia Whitfield, a favorite show of mine and some of our listeners, as we have learned recently. That goes up on Tuesday. Thursday sees tonight's show up for your download pleasure. You can also follow the Micheaux Mission on YouTube, where you can hit the bell, be notified of when we go live and when we put up new videos up on the channel. New videos went up there today. Go check them out. The Micheaux Mission streams every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier podcast palace. If you want to book yourself in one of the fabulous studios here, get in touch with our guy Dylan at youngjunk.com. And be sure to check out me, Len, back here on Young Junk tomorrow night as I return to the panel discussion of the Cult Pop Geek podcast to talk about, I believe we're talking about marriage in superherodom, among other things.
Among other things.
So I'm looking forward to returning and chatting it up with Noel and JD and the crew. All right. Next week here on the Micheaux Mission, it is my turn. And I dipped into the world of Netflix.
Okay.
Into the filmography of 3 outstanding women. Charlize Theron, get her out of the way. But the actress Kiki Lane. And the director.
I know that's right.
Gina Prince Bythewood.
Yes. Boy, she put her foot. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a review. That's for the review. But boy, she put her foot in this.
She did indeed.
She directed the hell out of this.
As we will be reviewing the comic book movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
The Old Guard.
Old Guard.
Next week here on the Micheaux Mission. Until then, he is Vincent. I am Len. And in parting, we say,
We'll see you when it's time to meet again.
ta-ta!
Young John!